If you're running a wedding venue, you know that sound. That little ping from WhatsApp. It starts out as this great promise of easy communication, right? But then it just spirals. It becomes this nonstop river of questions that completely drains your team's energy and focus. So let's dive into this and figure out how to actually fix it.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it does. That little green icon, the little red number climbing up, it's become the unofficial command center for pretty much all wedding communication. And honestly, it's completely overwhelming.
And there it is, the classic 10 p.m. message. You're trying to finally switch off for the day, but a client just has a quick question. On its own, it seems totally harmless, but this is the perfect example of how those boundaries just get completely blurred. It's somehow become the norm in our industry.
So, how do we get from that chaos back to having some control? Well, here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start by really digging into the problem of those constant interruptions and what they're really costing you. Then, we're going to flip the script on who's to blame before we get to the good stuff, a central hub solution that can totally transform your business for the long haul.
All right, let's kick things off with part one, the constant interruption. We're always told that being always available is great for business, but as we're about to see, this is exactly where that whole idea starts to fall apart and becomes a massive, massive productivity drain.
The thing is, these messages, they don't care about your office hours. They show up first thing in the morning, late at night, all through the weekend, and this is the real killer. They show up while you're in the middle of running someone else's event. Each message by itself seems tiny, but when you add them all up, it is absolutely exhausting.
Okay, so let's move on to the hidden cost here. We tell ourselves that answering all these messages is just convenience for the client. But what's really happening? Let's pull back the curtain and see the real operational price you pay every single time your phone buzzes.
You know what's so fascinating is the total disconnect here. For the client, WhatsApp feels amazing. It's instant, it's informal, it's familiar. But for your actual operations, it's a nightmare. You've got fragmented information everywhere, no structured record of who decided what, and it forces you and your team to explain the same things over and over and over again.
And this isn't just about feeling a bit frazzled. There's actually a name for it. It's called cognitive load. The best way to think about it is like your brain's RAM, on a computer. Every single time you switch from a deep focus task to answer a random WhatsApp, you're forcing your brain to completely reboot. And doing that all day, it's just mentally draining. It absolutely crushes your team's ability to get real work done.
Just think about this for a second. Studies show it can take several minutes, sometimes longer, to get your focus back after even a tiny interruption. Now, multiply that by what, 30, 40, 50 messages a day? The hidden hours you're losing every week. It's just staggering.
Now, this brings us to a really crucial turning point. We've got to shift the blame. It's so easy to get frustrated with our clients for asking so many questions. But what if the problem isn't the bride at all? What if the real problem is the system, or, the total lack of one? Let's just try to see it from their side for a moment. They are completely swamped with details. For them, firing off a quick text feels way faster than trying to dig through 100 emails or find one detail in a 20-page PDF you sent them 2 months ago. Their behavior isn't random. It's a totally logical response to a messy system.
And that's the bottom line right here. WhatsApp is not the enemy. The real villain in this story is the fact that we've let it become the go-to because we haven't given our clients a better, cleaner, more organized place to go for information.
Okay, enough complaining about the problem. Let's talk solutions. This is where we get to the central hub. This is how you take back control, how you stop being reactive and start being proactive. And the best part? It's actually way simpler than you probably think.
So seriously, what would it mean for your team, for your own sanity? What if you could just dramatically slash the number of random messages you get every single day?
80%. That's the number. And this isn't some fantasy number I'm pulling out of thin air. This is a real, achievable result when you put a proper, structured communication system in place. It's all about working smarter, not just being available 24/7.
So how do we get there? It's really just a simple 3-step path. First, you centralize everything. You create one single source of truth, like a client portal or some kind of dedicated digital space for all of that client's information. Second, you have to direct them there, consistently. Every time they ask a question, you point them to the hub. And third, you structure it.
The info in that hub needs to be so organized and so easy to find that it's genuinely less work for them to look it up themselves than it is to text you.
And this just nails the difference, right? The old way is you become the answer key. The new way is you become the guide, pointing them to the answer key. You're not being unhelpful, not at all. You're actually training them to be self-sufficient. And after a while, they just stop asking and they start looking first. It's a game changer.
And finally, let's talk about the long-term transformation here. Because this isn't just a quick fix to make your phone quieter for a week. When you adopt this approach, you fundamentally shift your entire business from being driven by interruptions to being driven by a system.
The psychological shift here is just massive. Think about it. Just WhatsApp me anytime sounds really helpful, but what it actually communicates is we don't really have a process. On the other hand, saying all your wedding details are organized in your event portal, well, that communicates professionalism, confidence, and control. It sets the expectation from day one.
And the benefits just ripple out from there. Your staff can actually focus, which means less burnout. You stop losing crucial information in some random chat history. And here's a huge one. Because your team isn't constantly putting out fires for current clients, their response times for valuable new leads get way better. You're not just managing stress, you're actively growing the business.
So, if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. The tool is not the problem. The lack of a system is. If you give clients a central, easy-to-use home for all their information, I promise you the constant messaging will just naturally fade away.
And that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. Right now, if you look at how your team operates, would you say your venue is fundamentally reactive, just being pulled around by every single notification? Or is it truly organized, with a system that protects your time, your energy, and projects total professionalism?